Open the bathroom window, all
Okay. So does anybody want to kick us off, or?
right. Well,
Okay.
I will.
Go on, Zoe.
Okay, I would just like to say that I think Joy and I had a real connection. She sort of, whenever we were in a meeting, she always used to come over and have a real deep conversation very quickly. And my memory of her is when her and Len came to the studio, my open studio, and it really showed what a sort of creative soul she was, really. She had so many, it's almost like she had creativity bursting out of her, and that's what I sort of remember, because she was saying, what can I learn and what can I do, and I've tried this and I've tried that and I'd like to do something else, and that's her enthusiasm and warmth and creativity is the thing that I remember from her. And she was a very warm person, so I was really and still am quite upset by the news, actually, and I regularly think about her. So yeah, that's what I would like to say. I think I'll miss her.
Yes,
sure.
Absolutely. That's why I just thought it would be nice to have a think and share some of those thoughts. Anybody else want to contribute?
Yeah,
Alex. I'll do Alex and then I'll come to Jackie.
I really, really, really believe and know this to be true, that she wanted everybody to succeed so much, because she took such an interest and really wanted to understand what's going on in your mind, in your heart. That was so important to her, and she really believed that through her sort of intervention, through her healing and through her therapy and her treatments, she could get to everybody's sort of insecurities and bring out the best in them. She really, really believed that, and that's why she wanted everybody to experience her sessions at least once. And I found that, you know, really truly quite brilliant, because she really did it from a place of heart. But she was also quite a direct speaker, so if she felt she wanted to say something to you, she said it. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because most of the time, often we're a little bit on the defensive if somebody is trying to give us a suggestion. But then we think, well, actually, they're telling me this because actually they care. They truly care. And I remember once she remarked to me, and you know, she was a real product junkie, Joy, real product junkie. You know, always impeccable, always, you know, glam. I mean, just the epitome of the glamorous, beautiful, you know, lady in the sort of, you know, in her later years, but still with so much passion for life and so much to live for. It just really was just coming out of her every cell. And she once remarked something about my makeup, and at first I was like, oh, I'm not sure I like what she's saying. But then I actually tried out what she was suggesting, and I thought, yes, she's absolutely right. You know, she gave me a tip, and I listened and I experimented. And every time now I reach for this particular powder that's sort of, rather than putting on powder, she told me to just absorb the little bit of natural oil. Every time I reach now for my product, and I'm lucky because we actually brought one out in Arbonne. I was a bit defensive. I didn't want to use anything that wasn't Arbonne. And we brought one out. And every time I use it now, I think of her. And I just think that's just a bit nutty, but that's, you know, I just think of her every day when I reach for this powder. But yes, I think, you know, anyone that met her, she definitely left a mark on us in some way, shape or form. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to come to Jackie now.
Okay, yeah, just quickly, I think you were right not to do a minute's silence, because it wouldn't have suited Joy at all. She was so bubbly and vivacious and had, you know, conversations with everyone. And she was in her 70s, but goodness me, she had so much zest for life, and running several businesses. I went there a few times to have treatments, and you were had a fantastic treatment, and you were plied with her latest cake that she'd made. You were had a cake and conversation, and yeah, I was very shocked. Just, you know, somebody with that much life force. You don't expect to be to go like that, and yeah, it's very sad. Yeah.
Is there anybody else? Gideon, I thought you might.
Yeah, I saw Joy last time. It was last healing meeting, beginning of March, and we just talk about this because we had our birthdays like week apart, and mine was 65 and her was 75, so we sort of joked about it. And she was so vibrant, warm, and giving person, you know, giving advice, giving support, giving treatments, giving cakes.
Yes.
There's so much to give and to share to everybody. And yeah, it's such I cannot get my head around still, but she's not here.
No, I've got lots of photographs on my phone of her at various things, and you know, each time I open and I scroll through, I think this is just not fair, because she did show so much interest in everybody. And you know, I listened to what Zoe said about her making her feel special. I think she did that with everybody. You know, and she was just such a vibrant part of the community, so she will be much missed, and our love goes to Len and to her 3 kids. So thank you all for that. I'm going to stop the recording at this point and put it back on when Jill does her talk.
Love was really the most important thing. It didn't matter what went wrong or what I did wrong, which is quite often. I knew that I was loved. I knew that my parents would forgive me and loved me and were there for me. And the same was true of my brother and sister. I used to fight like anything with my brother particularly, but I knew he loved me and I knew he was always there for me, and he still is. My brother and sister still are. And I know that not everybody has that advantage, so I'm very conscious that I start my journey and continue my journey in the world with a big advantage over a lot of people. I watched the film Love Actually over Christmas. Watch it most Christmases, and probably you are all familiar with it. It's quite a cheesy film, but the central message in the film is a good one. Love really is all around. I've got a heart on my necklace and my earrings today. I've got a heart on my mug. We all like and love posts on Facebook and LinkedIn. We talk about love very casually. We might say we loved Hugh Grant in that film, or Claudia Schiffer, and we might say we love football, or we love playing Scrabble, and it's just sort of a casual throwaway term, love, but it really is there all the time. But the one place we never talk about love is at work. So what does love actually mean? Well, I've got the dictionary definition of it here in front of me. It's a noun, and it's an intense feeling of deep affection, as in babies fill parents with feelings of love. Fairly straightforward. Or it's a great interest and pleasure in something, such as his love for football. And that's all the dictionary says, really. And we've all felt love in some form. Love for a parent or a sibling, love for a pet, love for a significant partner. Of course, these types of love are all different from each other. The love of a mother for her child is different from the love that we have for our partner. And that's different from the love between 2 brothers. Or is it? I couldn't say that I love my husband any differently from the way that I love my sister or my cats. The intensity of the feeling inside might vary, and the physical expression probably varies. But the way I treat the person on the receiving end isn't any different. if you love someone, you want them to succeed, you want the best for them, you want them to be happy. You want to put yourself out for them, you'll go the extra mile for them. You care about them, you'll change your plans to accommodate their needs. Yeah, we might get irritated with people, but we still love them. And their welfare is important. You care about how they're feeling, whether they're happy, whether they're well. And those things are common for every type of love. They're common for whatever or whoever the object of your love is. And that's the same in the workplace. If you separate the sort of, the physical aspects of love from the feeling, it's easy to see how it can translate to the workplace or to any other situation in our lives. We go to work for a variety of reasons, but clearly the main one is to earn money, to live the kind of life that we want to live, and to provide for ourselves and our families. But while we're there, we have dealings with other people, and most of us want those dealings to be pleasant, to be friendly, to be helpful. Our colleagues, clients, suppliers, anybody at all that we deal with in the workplace, we want to have good relationships with them. We want the best for them. We want them to succeed. We put ourselves out for them, we help them, and we probably do most of those things completely subconsciously. We don't even realise we're doing it. Why do we do it? We do it because we want them to do the same thing for us, because we all need love, we all need to be liked, we all want to be a part of the crowd, to be accepted and loved. So what about leadership? How does this affect leadership? So whether it's in the workplace or in politics or in a team, or whether it's a high level or a low level, any leader would do well to show these expressions of love. Any leader would do well to love their team. Surely any leader would want the very best for their team. They want to succeed because the team's success reflects on the leader. So I would say that for any leader, it's absolutely critical to love those that you lead. On that will rest the success of any outcome that you're looking for, the success of whatever the team or the people that you are leading are there for. Their success and the success of the mission depends on the love that you show for them and they show for each other and for you. So it's all around us, love. It's everywhere. But actually it's really missing in an awful lot of places as well. I don't want to get terribly political, but think about Donald Trump, dare I say, and how he treats other world leaders, how he treats people in his own country. Look at Putin or Kim Jong-un or any of the sort of real harsh leaders and how they treat at least the people in their own countries. That is not love. In our own country, look at the rising homelessness before all of this current crisis we're going through. The NHS was in a fairly dire state. Prisons are overcrowded. That's not an expression of love. I can't do much to change the world. I can't do much to change world leaders and to help them to love people. But on a smaller individual basis, I can help employers to love their teams, and I can help managers to love the people that work for them. And that really is what my business is all about. So how does a leader show love for their team? Well, they put every possible step in place to look after the people in the team, to make sure that the people in the team have everything they need to succeed, to give them the training to do whatever the job is to the best they can do it, to support them if something goes wrong, not to blame them, but to help them to learn from any mistakes. Particularly at the moment, to look after people's mental well-being. And there are a lot of leaders out there whose teams are spread to the four winds at the moment, who are having to manage their team remotely, which adds a whole new complexion to this. But it's really important, even more important, that leaders are loving their teams, are keeping in touch, are regularly contacting them and just touching base. And I would say that that is the most important job that any leader has, no matter what their business, no matter what they're doing. So what are the benefits of all this for the leaders? You know, what do they get out of it? Well, of course, a leader who loves their team, inspires their team, supports their team, they get that love back 100-fold. We could all tell you about people in our lives who inspire us, and any leader would want to be that person who inspires their team. For me, the question isn't what are the benefits that I would get from loving my team. The question is, how quickly will I fail if I don't love my team? The biggest benefit of all for any leader of this is that we love ourselves more. If we show love to other people, we love ourselves more. So you might think that showing love to your team, it means you're soft. It means you can't gain their respect. You know, you need to be tough. You need to be the leader. And I don't think love comes from a place of softness. I think it comes from a place of strength. Somebody who can show love to other people, who can be kind and approachable and caring. They are far more of a leader and far stronger than anybody who relies on fear and having to force people into doing things they don't want to do. Leading is about inspiring people to do what we need them to do. There are times in business where really difficult things have to be done, difficult decisions have to be made. We've all, through this crisis, we all know people who've been laid off, people whose businesses have gone to the wall, people who can't work for whatever reason and so have no money coming in. And the person in the business who's had to make those decisions, they're having a really tough time. And through my working life, I've seen countless redundancies, disciplinaries, dismissals for poor conduct, health problems where the person has no longer been able to continue working. All of those are really difficult for any manager, any leader to have to deal with. And yet I'm really proud of the fact that where I've dealt with those things, I've even had letters from people thanking me for the way that it was handled. I had a letter from somebody thanking me from the way I handled their redundancy, for goodness sake. Most of us, that's a really awful situation to be in, but somebody really appreciated the fact that they had been treated as a human being. They'd been given respect, they'd been given love. And I'm really proud of that. and I think any leader should be. Now, a lot of us in this meeting, we don't have teams that work for us. We're on our own. We're one-man bands. So how is this applicable to us? Well, of course, we all lead at least one person ourselves. We all have one employee, that's ourselves. And we need to look after that one employee in exactly the same way we would look after somebody else who worked for us. So if somebody was working for you and they were working ridiculously long hours, or they were not having a break during the day, or they were working at the weekends or working at night time, or their family was struggling because they were working too much and not spending any time with the family, as a leader, you'd be telling them not to do that. You'd be encouraging them to have breaks, to take breaks, to look after themselves, to not worry about mistakes they might have made. And so we should be doing that for ourselves. And my advice is, anything that you do in a business, any mistakes you've made, and we all make them, anything that you're struggling with, that you're concerned about, that you're worried about, then think about, if I had an employee and they were doing this for me and they'd made this mistake, how would I treat them? And then treat yourself the same way. You know, give yourself some love. I could give a whole nother talk here about looking after ourselves and treating ourselves properly. But the only thing I really want you to take away from this is that we all need to love ourselves, because we are the most important person in our lives. And that is really all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jill. If you look at the chat, there's a few of us who've put some comments in, and I have been recording this. I'm still recording at this point, so that if there are questions and thoughts people want to share, you've got those as well. That certainly hit the point with me. You know, certainly recently I seem to have spent an awful lot of time sitting in the dining room on my own, on my own, in Zoom, but not with the family and the like. And you know, I do think it's important for us to make that sort of time for other people as well. Some really stuff.
It's really important. People are really struggling at the moment. I've seen so many posts on LinkedIn, particularly, where I spend a lot of my life, but about sort of, you know, we're missing each other. It's all, Zoom is great, and you know, it's been a lifesaver for an awful lot of us. But you know, I really want to hug my sister at the moment. And I think we're all feeling that lack of physical contact with people that we care about and people that we can't see at the moment. So it's really important at the moment to be there for ourselves.
It is. It is. Thank you. Some really thought-provoking stuff. Does then welcome to Maya, who's just arrived. I will give you an invitation to speak and tell people about yourself shortly. I'm going to put everybody back on gallery view so I can see. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts for Jill and that they would like to share at this point? Unmute yourselves if you do.
I have a question.
Go on, Diane.
Thank you. Thanks, Jill, for a really insightful presentation there. And self-care and love should be at the heart of and forefront of everybody. But sometimes, as some people here will have experienced previously, corporate is not the way to exude love and kindness and compassion towards people. And I think that's evident with the amount of people that's come out of corporate work over the years and still continuing to find that journey out. So have you, I suppose it's a bit of a double-edged question really, have you come up against an organisation where they want the deed done, they want the job done, but they don't really care about the feelings and emotions of that person? And if so, you're nodding, so I'm taking that's a yes. And if so, how do you move around that?
that is the whole reason I set up my business and why I do what I do. I try and help those kind of organisations, and more explicitly the people in those organisations. And the only way I can help the people who work there is by changing the mindset really of the leaders in those organisations. And it's really hard. I won't say it's an easy task. And you know, I'm perhaps changing it one leader at a time maybe, but it really, I think it's something we, the population in general, need to talk about more. It, you know, it's not a soft thing to love and care about people. And actually the optimistic side of me thinks that maybe that's something good that might come out of this horrible period we're going through at the moment, because I think people are just beginning to realise how important we all are to each other. And business, you know, a lot of businesses are really suffering or have gone completely because of this. And with a bit more caring about their employees, they might, I'm not saying it's true of every business, of course it's not, but they might have been able to keep going a bit longer. And I think, you know, it really is just chipping away. And it's also, there's an element of being prepared to stand up and be counted. I actually set up my own business because I left a corporate, and the corporate that I left, the reason I left them was because they asked me to do something as an HR professional, which I just couldn't do. I just felt it was wrong and I refused to do it. And I resigned because of it. And then I thought, well, what do I do next? I need some money coming in, and that's why I set up my own business. But it, you know, it's a difficult one. There isn't an easy answer to that question, Diane.
I feel as though what's happening right now is taking nothing away from the massive losses which is at the helm of all this, and really distressing. But I don't feel as though this is the change that the planet needed. And I think there was a tilt anyway. People were thinking differently, moving differently, but what's going to emerge from this, I do believe, is people will have more of a voice. And I think there's going to be a higher sense of humanity coming through. Do you see that being reflected to the leaders of corporate? Do you think they will take this on board, or is it such a hard wall that they're still going to remain behind that wall, or do you think there's hope there?
I think there's hope. There's not. I mean, it's never going to be an overnight change, but I think there is hope there. What's really excited me is I've set up a Facebook group and LinkedIn group called Love and Leadership, and I've invited some corporate leaders and a lot of leaders of small business, but some leaders in bigger businesses, bigger corporates, to join. And I've been absolutely amazed at the response and how many people have joined it, and you know, are telling me that they're liking the sorts of messages that I'm posting there. So that's really encouraged me to think that there is an appetite for change.
Leaders of love.
I also think the corporate structure has all been based on fear of not enough, fear of not enough money, fear of survival, fear of blah, blah, blah. And this is the time, guys, to ditch the fear and to step into something greater that you already are. We already all are that. So it's like a program. It's like this set of tracks that everybody's been on, and the tracks are changing, and we're stepping into the unknown. So we're being called to be in the moment, and we're being called to just not listen to fear and not make choices from fear, because where you make a choice from and where you create from creates more of that energy. And so if you're creating a business and you're going to work and, you know, in your subconscious mind, it's all about fear, guess what you're going to have at the end of the day and tomorrow? And yet with Jill, and she's talking about, well, hey, go in with love, and, you know, and guess what you're going to have tomorrow? So it's just awesome, this opportunity. And let's keep our fingers crossed that the big corporate bosses, because I've left my last job, I left because of the culture. It's just like, God, I can't be in this. So, you know, let's keep our fingers crossed that this is the beginning of the change, of stepping out of fear and into the joy of business and success.
Yeah, it's just.
I think with corporate, I don't think they've intentionally set about to create an emptiness within their employees. To me, corporate is just totally driven on outcomes throughout, from the planning stage right through to outcomes. So what you've got is a left brain completion of a company. Whereas as the decades have gone on and people have emerged in their own sense of self, they're requiring the creative empathy, the feeling and emotions to be integrated into that journey of success as well. But the corporates somehow, and I'm not saying all of them, but they're behind with that. They're still on their tunnel of, to some degree, of getting the outcomes rather than integrating the humanitarian approaches such as what Jill's talking about, which love is the centre of everything. If you can bring love into a workplace, everything else will flourish from that. So I don't think it's intentional. I think the model has just outgrown before the skills of what Jill's got are in place and filtered into these organisations. So
I think Elmira wanted to say something, is that right?
Yes, yeah, I did actually. A couple of things. First of all, I thank you very much, Jill. This is a really very, very inspiring talk. What I'm finding, and I think that this is true, because I know I said in the past that I think we're really ready to shift the business paradigm. And we've got a wonderful opportunity now because a lot of businesses shut down in order to do that. And I really do agree with you, Jill, that it is love. Because the moment we bring the love into it, and it's a kind of unconditional love without judgment, we start to elevate everything, you know, elevate consciousness. We start moving into another space, and there is so much more trust. I think that's a key element in this, because when you put that loving environment in place, people start to trust one another, and there is an absolutely huge increase in productivity.
Yeah. And that's how I get to businesses, is by telling them that, or by hopefully showing them that their profit and the things that they're all striving for will improve if they love their employees. It's really very simple.
Yeah. Frances wanted to say something, I think.
I was just going to say that the other day I had a one-to-one with a networking contact from a different group, and she does interior design specifically within the corporate world. So companies with 60, 100 or more employees, and she's emphasized that they only work with organizations that want to create an environment that people love coming to work for, and that by doing that they are increasing the productivity of their workforce. So I do think that there is a little bit of a shift there, and it might be worth putting Jill in touch with this contact, because I think the two things go together. And you know, they're also thinking about what the workplace will be like with working with coronavirus, and how that will change the design features, but still keeping that environment that's conducive, that people want to come and collaborate in, but come and collaborate in safely.
That's fantastic, and thank you for spotting that as a connection and an opportunity. I'm going to wind up the talk now because I'm conscious that time is moving on. But Jill, thank you very much indeed for such a thought-provoking talk and getting so many people involved. You know, and when you hear a talk's going to be called Love and Leadership, and the audience is largely one-man, one-woman bands, you wonder how relevant it will be, but it was absolutely relevant to us all. So thank you very much indeed for that. I knew it would be relevant because I know you, but even so, and I have been recording it. I'm going to stop recording now, and then I'll try and get my son to cut the two bits apart.